Over the past year, Sri Lanka has seen a massive centralization of presidential power. I think many people would agree, and at least as an observer, that seems to be the case with the 18th Amendment that recently became law, abolishes term limits for the executive presidency, which certainly it's an issue that we've struggled with both in this country and even in this city. Yet a critical issue in many democracies. It weakens the restraints on power from the 17th Amendment. And it empowers the president to appoint many commissions that the president wasn't empowered to appoint previously, including elections, national police, human rights, ombudsman, and the list goes on. This happens in addition to the increasingly powerful role that the family of the president is playing. The president himself is personally in charge of several key ministries: defense, public security, law and order, finance, planning, religious affairs. His brother Basil is the Minister of Economic Development. His brother Chamal is the Speaker of Parliament. His son Namal is a member of Parliament,
elected by the people.
Yeah,
we can't.
I agree. And believe me, we've had the Bushes here.
Well, they've all been.
His brother Gotabaya is Secretary of Defense in charge of security forces, as well as has recently taken on supervision of the Attorney General's office and responsibility for the NGO Secretariat and the Urban Development Department. So it just seems a lot of centralization. The Center for Policy Alternatives, and you may have. But let me, if I can just say, my question is, I mean, as you probably even know the quote that I'm about to say, the Center for Policy Alternatives has called the 18th Amendment an assault on constitutional democracy in the service of partisan advantage. And my question to you is a year after the victory in the Civil War, 2 stunning electoral wins, why is so much emphasis being put on centralization of power? And does this come at the expense of the ideas of devolution that you've...
No,
and secondly, how does this fit into an overall sense of checks and balances, which is so important to the long-term functioning of a democracy?
You know, there are several misunderstandings that are kind of implied in that series of questions. Now, the 18th Amendment was necessary for many practical reasons. Now, you spoke of commissions. I think you are referring to the 17th Amendment, which set up these commissions and provided for a certain modality to appoint them. It never happened on the ground. Not many people are aware that when the 17th Amendment was sent to the Supreme Court to be tested for constitutionality, the Supreme Court, in its judgment, made an observation which turned out to be prophetic. They said this simply cannot work on the ground. And we envision, not as a matter of mere likelihood or probability, but as a matter of virtual certainty, that this will break down. Why? Because for the 17th Amendment to be implemented, there had to be agreement among an array of opposition political parties about who was going to be appointed to the Constitutional Council. That agreement was never forthcoming. Then all these parties got together and appointed a committee of parliament which was mandated to find a practical solution to this problem. They had many, many sittings, but up to now they have not been able, all of them together, to sign a set of proposals which commanded the acceptance of all of them. So you had a situation in which this elaborate machinery had totally broken down. But we believe that the commissions are necessary. They're a salutary instrument. And now we have made provision for the president to appoint the commissions after full consultation with a parliamentary committee, a parliamentary council consisting of the Speaker, the Prime Minister, the Leader of the Opposition, a representative of the Leader of the Opposition as well as a representative of the Prime Minister. That is essentially a much more democratic mechanism than a constitutional council, which consists of people outside who are put on that body for no other reason than their political affiliation. So the whole premise of your question is that was democratic, this is not. How can you possibly argue that depoliticization is going to be achieved by a constitutional council whose composition is directly and overtly based on party politics? You can pick up anybody and put him on the Constitutional Council. He is a nominee of a political party, responsible and accountable to nobody other than the political party that appointed him. It is impossible to suggest that that is an acceptable way of achieving depoliticization. Now, instead of that, we have put in place a mechanism that is going to work. And don't forget this, that Sri Lanka has very strong institutions, and it is wrong to be cynical.